and welcome to the Sunday Forum. This morning, we are lucky to have Bev Edge here to present sacred geometry. I'm really excited because I know zero about sacred geometry, and I had never even heard of the topic until earlier this year. Before I introduce her, let us pray. O God, whose blessed Son came into the world that he might destroy the works of the devil and make us children of God and heirs of eternal life. Grant that, having this hope, we may purify ourselves as he is pure, that when he comes again with power and great glory, we may be made like him in his eternal and glorious kingdom, where he lives and reigns with you in the Holy Spirit, one God, forever and ever. Amen. Amen. Okay. In elementary school, Bev's teacher told her that she couldn't draw. So she walked away from drawing for decades until her university job included providing academic support for students with learning differences, and she found herself in art classes where she was expected to keep up with the class so she could help her students. The golden section and sacred geometry class captivated her, and she became a student herself. Bev focuses on communicating the symbolic meanings of the numbers, shapes, and ratios in her pieces, sometimes adding symbolic figures. Recently, she's been moving toward combining the exact nature of geometry with the spontaneous nature of sumi-e, Japanese brush painting. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Bev Edge.
Can you guys hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, cool. My father was a director, a stage director, and so I have a big voice. I don't really have a good inside voice, so if it gets too loud, let me know. Okay, I'm going to start by showing you guys some tools. Then I've got a kind of a handout, because y'all are going to have to do something. And then I also have published sources and unpublished sources and existential sources here for the preparation of this presentation. Okay, so tools. Okay, basically a geometer's tools are two. All you need is a compass of some sort. You can just take, a nail and a string. That can be a compass. But here's one, fully loaded, because I was working with it. And then if you are working in a larger format, you might need an extender bow, as I have here. So I use, because precision is important, I use these drafting pencils. And then I've got these pens, the Rapidiograph pen. So again, incredibly narrow, fine point. And for rulers, typically I use a straight, this ruler that's often used in graphic design, because I do kind of do graphic design. And then if you get really OCD, you get to use this one, the Staedtler, which goes to 1/64 of an inch. And by the way, our eyes really will only see well down to about 1/8 of an inch. After that, it's a bit fuzzy. So that's but some of us do get that crazy. And then I do have the books that I use often up here, and so maybe after you can take a look at them. We will be using stuff out of the Theology of Arithmetic. This is a translation of a compilation of Iamicus with a couple other Pythagoreans. So this is the Pythagorean tradition. And then this one is a fantastic book. I totally recommend it. The Quadrivium, the 4 classical liberal arts of number, geometry, music, and cosmology. And it's beautiful. So I totally recommend that. You get in the weeds really fast. And then, more for the graphic area, is the geometry of design. So, my teacher is Mark Reynolds, and this was my student book, as you can tell by all the stuff in it. So, and that's the unpublished source. And I talked to him last week, and he's like, oh yeah, just don't worry about copying my drawings, I'm fine. I'm like, yeah, no, I wouldn't do that. Okay. And then this is my, the sketchbook that I have only like 4 pages left, but I am still working in that one, but I thought I'd bring it. So anyway, let me get these, I have to put down the mic and distribute. Yes? I think they'll have enough for everyone with no problem, so you don't have to share if you don't want to. Okay. So the first thing, I've organized the presentation kind of the logical way that I would work. So I go from number to shape. Sometimes number and shape for me are not so different, but number to shape, and from shape then to the ratios. Sometimes I start with the ratio, so I'm a little bit backwards and sometimes when I'm working. So anyway, let's take a look at number. And there are some numbers that if you were reading the theology of arithmetic, there are some numbers that have been accepted as being sacred or meaningful, having some special magic. And so from scripture, I'll get into the slide. My slideshow does have some other cultures. But if you're thinking about numbers that are sacred or meaningful in the Judeo-Christian community, what numbers would you think of? 7. Okay.
40.
Okay, 7. Now, what about 7? Where did you get 7?
Well, let's see. 7 days and 40. I'm trying to think of all the.
Well, 7 days God created the earth basically and rested in 7 days exactly. All right, 40 days and 40 nights is almost like a little phrase, right? 40 years in the wilderness, exactly. And 40, by the way, is because most of the time in sacred geometry, you're working with 1 to 10 plus 12. That's kind of what you work in. So 1 to 10, so 40 would be 4 times 10. So you actually would have 2 numbers in there. But 40, okay, what other ones? 3, exactly. And triune nature of God and all that. Any others? 12. 12 disciples and?
1.
1. Exactly. There's 1, there's 12, there's, how about 2?
Polarities.
2 by 2. Yeah, Noah, and in the Noah story, 2 by 2.
2 or more are gathered.
2 or more gathered, right? And also when you get Adam and Eve, here we're starting to get into Fibonacci, but Adam, Eve, 2, right? so 2 does Cain and Abel, right? So you have 2s. Any others? 5? 25. Okay, now 25 would be 5 times 5. So then 5 comes in. Again, when you get these multiples, you go down to.
American Architectural Digest.
And any others? 10. 10 commandments, right? 5,000. Oh my God, the multiples on that are truly awesome. Yes. 666. Uh-oh. There's one left.
Something tells me 144, and I don't know.
Yeah, those multiples there are. Remember the 7 or 7 times So, yeah, you get into this, into hundreds by that time, yeah. How about 13?
Bad news.
Yeah, the 13th disciple, right? So here we go. Okay. Right, no. So 13 actually does come into the narrative in our tradition, right? Okay, so that's a good start. And now you get into like Tantra or Buddhist numbers. Hey, I got this out of order, so I'm going to skip. We're going to do Native American. We'll do the Buddhist after. But anyway, this is a Buddhist stupa. Has anyone been to Sedona, Arizona? Yeah? Have you been here? Oh, go. Next time, go. This is one of the most fantastic places in the world. I mean, it's amazing. And so in this, the Buddhist stupa in Sedona has this area where they put in a medicine wheel. So if you look, there are 7 stones in the middle. And then you have all the stones around in a circle. And those are 4, right? So let's see. My first foray over here. Oh, here. Oh yeah. So I just copied the instructions. So medicine wheel is an ancient Native American symbol. Okay, represents the circle of life. In the center of the wheel is a circle of 7 stones, which are the 7 sacred, around the sacred fire, which can be seen as our sun. And I'll toggle back. And then, which are referred to as the 7 sacred dancers. They danced creation into manifestation as they danced around the sacred fire. Okay, we see them expressed as the 7 rainbow colors or as the 7 chakras of this greater intelligence that we call creation. They're bringing in their Buddhist thing there, you know. And then from the center emanate the pathways of the 4 directions. Each direction has a guardian spirit and a teaching that corresponds to the 4 seasons, 4 elements, 4 times of day, and the 4 stages of human life. And then also included is our relation to the Sky Father above and the Earth Mother below. And then it tells you how you would walk it after that. So there is a set way. It is a ritual, so there's a set way of doing that. Let me toggle back. Then you can see. Okay, so now it kind of makes more sense, right? So the 7 in the middle with the 4 directions. You would enter on the east, is what the ritual is. So there's that one. Okay, so now we get to Mayan. Like I said, I don't know why I put the Buddhism first. So Mayan, you have 3. So 3 in the Mayan tradition are the number of old gods awakened by the maize god. 4 is the 4-cornered earth, and this is where I got the picture of the 4-cornered earth. I actually took these pictures at what was called the Museum of Man, which is now the Museum of Us. But I took these pictures and then cropped them. And then they have 9 layers of the underworld. And 13 comes in tiers of the sky. So they have their sacred numbers. I don't think I have a slide for Tantra. So for Tantra or Buddhist, you have 7 chakras, right? So from the root, which is actually at the pelvis, that's another interesting thing because that's actually kind of the golden section of our physical body. The navel, the solar plexus, which is higher, the heart, throat, third eye, and then the seventh one is above the head. I did a drawing of the chakras, much more abstract, and I left that top one off, which was intentional at the time. You have the 5 koshas, which are like folds or layers. 7, the sevenfold office in Buddhism, and you can read that. And then there's a sacred number of 108. And like I said, when you get to large numbers, you use multiples. So it's 9 times 12. And I do have a photograph of that I'll show you later. And then the 8-fold path, or the 8-spoked wheel. So 8. So those are sacred numbers in Buddhism. Some of them. Islam has many. The Muslims are very famous for geometry. Of course, they pretty much gave us geometry in a way, didn't they? And then they have so many tessellations. It's just, they're glorious. But some of them are the 7 layers of the earth. And then 7 circles a pilgrim makes around the Kaaba. And 99 names of Allah. Again, that would be 9. And you just repeat that, 9, 9. So in the art. For our culture, what we work with usually, and what is in the theology of arithmetic, it's 1 through 10. And then almost everyone, because it's astronomical, it's 12 months, 12 hours. It's 24 hours, but 12. That's a multiple of 2. And then the horoscope in any culture is all 12. All right, so from number to shape. I hope this comes out. It's very pale. Can you kind of see that? Oh, okay, cool. This is a drawing that goes back to Renaissance times. Although this is my drawing, but it goes back to Renaissance time. And it's called Squaring the Circle. Has anyone ever drawn it? Do you know about Squaring the Circle? It's kind of a puzzle that the Greeks, the Pythagoreans, got pretty obsessed with. Like, how do you make a square and a circle that are in the same drawing that have the same area or perimeter? So this is one way that you can do it. Okay. So from, this takes the numbers too, but we'll do that in just a moment. So from here, it's the relationship of the Earth to the Moon. So the Earth, see the moon on the top? That's the moon. The small circle on the very top? That's the moon. And it's sitting on top of the Earth. And then you see this bigger circle that goes around. Well, in order to get this drawing, you get all of those shapes that are inside. So without all of the shapes that are inside, you can't attain this drawing that will allow you to square the circle. And does anyone see all of the meaningful shapes inside? Can you see them? Right, there's triangles, there's the star. How about those loops? What do those look like? Yin yang, yeah. Uh-huh.
I have a question. The middle triangle sort of looks like an oval, but I wonder if that's an optical illusion.
I think are you kind of seeing, sorry I don't have a pointer, but are you kind of seeing this sweeping thing? Or
Okay, the 2 circles are in the middle, of it, in the center of it.
Well, they're not complete circles.
They almost look like they are.
Yeah, that's more like the yin and yang sort of thing.
Got it. But anyway, it's not important. But I was just wondering if it's an optical illusion, that it is really a circle, but it appears to be an oval. That makes sense.
It could be just because there's so much going on and there's so many lines crossing each other.
I think it's the projector that's making it look that way.
Oh.
Oh, okay, is it?
I think so.
All right. So what then, here's your second thing to look at. So when you look at this, what shapes can you, what numbers do you see? So if you see the shapes, like the star, what's that number? 5, 3, 1, the circles. 4, the square. Mm-hmm. There's 7? Well, there's, 3 plus 4, there'd be 7 for sure. Yeah. There's one more that, how about 2? Can you find it? Well, those are, I can see what you're saying. Look at that shape that's kind of a squished out oval thing. That's kind of mandorla. So that's a mandorla, which is a word, I guess it's Italian or derived from Italian. It means almond shape. So that's 2. So because you're going from, where the lines cross, you've got 2 of those. Okay, so you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and Rick saw 7.
We'll sit with 6.
6 is, I drew it really lightly in this. There's a seal of Solomon in there. So you see the peak of the star, and then go out a little bit, and you'll see another set that'll make an equilateral triangle.
Hooray!
Oh, and there's a pointer here. Oh, thank you. This one? What red button? Okay. Oh no. Okay, I obviously don't know how to do these. Okay. So it was up here? Oh, there's something there? Okay. Oh, there it is. Okay. So this is the top of the pentagram. So if you follow this, there. Oops, sorry. I'm using my left hand and I'm not left-handed. And then here's the other one. 1 here, 1 there, and 1 there. So you have the seal of Solomon. It's just paler. Did everyone see that? It's hard to see. It's hard to see here. There's so many lines in here that it's very hard to see. And kind of spoiler alert, I took all the shapes in there, spun them out so that they could be seen. And so you'll see that drawing too. And I added 1. So, okay. So you found the shapes in the drawing. So very good. You can take the class that I had. So in this drawing, there's no shape that says 7. A 7 would be a hexagon or hexagram, also called a septagon, septagram. There's 2 words for a lot of these. I don't see that there's an octagon in here. So 8, so 8's not in there. The enneagon or enneagram, the 9, I don't see that in there either. The decagon, not really, no. And then the dodecagon, which is 12. And this is my favorite, one of my favorite words is the triskaidecadon, which is the alternative for the 13-pointed triskaidecadon, or a tridecadon. Okay? And I actually have drawn that, but I'm not going to talk about that today. Alrighty. So now let's go to one of what I did with it. So because it's kind of like salad in there, I decided what I needed to do was to spin it out. Because these are all religious symbols. They symbolize there's one more that maybe you didn't see, but they symbolize for us many of the religions. There is a cross. You can see it very clearly. True? If you go from the top of the earth where it meets the moon all the way down, and then you go over on any number of the perpendicular lines across. And then, because of the mandorla, you actually have kind of a moon type of arc in the square, and then you have the star. So that's kind of the Ottoman symbol of Islam. The sun, the moon with the star, right? Okay, so then what I did is spin it out. And this is one version that I did of this drawing. I have a cool phase and a warm phase. The warm phase, Rick put in a show once. And this is cool phase. And I decided to use the cool phase one because it has the symbol of Buddhism. The 8-spoked wheel is in there. So, and then using shading, I put in the cross. So that's how I did that one. Oh, there's where it is. Okay. So, can you guys see how many circles are in there? A lot? Who said that? Well, no, just the small circles. How many small circles are in there? Yes, 7. There are 7 circles. There are 7 circles in this drawing. By the way, I started the drawing from that line. So this center line, I have to keep finding this. The center line here, that's how I started the drawing. And then instead of using a mandorla, which you saw in the last one, the 2, instead of using the mandorla, I use the Vesica Pisces, which is a geometric tool. And the Vesica Pisces is longer and also broader than the mandorla. But at any rate, that is a way that you bisect a line if you don't have a ruler. So who needs the damn ruler? Oh, sorry. Who needs the ruler? You can just use a vesica if you want to bisect a line. Okay? So you just take your compass point and you stick your point in one end of the line, open up the compass to the other side of the line, and then you swing that arc. Switch it, swing the arc, you end up, this has, oh, you can see it up there. See the little 2 feathery things going beyond? That's the cross of the thing, of the 2 lines, and then you draw the line straight down. So any line you can bisect without a ruler. And then what happens, magically, because, geometry is awesome, is that if you draw the line at the top and the bottom, you will get a square root of 3 rectangle. Aren't you excited? I mean, it makes me excited. So this is a square root of 3 rectangle. And so anyway, what I did then was to take all of the shapes and spin them out so that all of the symbols were equal. Because in my mind, I wanted to show that all the religions are equal. And so we have, this is a riff on the symbol from Islam, right? The Ottoman symbol, yin-yang for Taoism. There's a blank one in the middle. Then we have the Seal of Solomon, Judaism, the 8-spoked wheel for Buddhism. And then this is this seed of life, or the flower of life, which is actually kind of universal. It doesn't have a specific religion it belongs to. All right, and then the equilateral triangle, So that's how I did that drawing. Any?
It's beautiful. And I wonder,
Yes? Rick?
But in the Eastern Star, organization for black women, it does.
Oh, it does? The Seed of Life? The Seed of Life?
Power refers to the black female organ.
Okay. Oh, I've heard that. Okay. There you go. Yeah, I didn't bring in the kind of feminist aspect.
It relates to the rose of Sharon instead of Jesus.
All right. Yeah. Mind blown.
Do you ever make copies of your art? Because that is really a wonderful interview.
This one, okay, truth time. This one I actually gave to my office mate because I was very frustrated and I didn't like the way it went. So I'm like, here, you take it. Or I didn't actually say that. I said like, what am I gonna do with this thing? You know, and she's like, I'll take it. And I'm like, oh, okay, here you go. So anyway, let me put this down. This is my sketchbook, and this is the line drawing. I've been using, I just like throw stuff in my sketchbook. So that was the line drawing. This is me working with colors on that drawing, just to see what the shading will work. When you have a really complex drawing, it's really better to keep it monochromatic. Because otherwise the color will start interfering once you shifted colors. So both of my really busy drawings, like I have 2 of these and they're very busy. So both of them are monochrome. And then I made a photocopy. So to get back to your point, I just made a copy. I did scan it. So that's how I got that image. But I don't make copies now, because so far all my work has been really directed at one person or at expressing one message. So that's why I haven't done it yet. Any questions?
No, but I was thinking along that line.
Mhm.
I would be really cool to show my grandson who's probably going to be studying geometry if he hasn't already. And because, I wish my geometry teacher had something like this. He would
Right.
be excited about it.
Yeah, well, you know,
Restate what she said. It's not even taught like that.
she was saying that she wished that she had something to show her grandson who's just starting to study geometry so he could get excited about it. You know, and that is kind of like, I always loved geometry. Like I got D's in algebra and I got A's in geometry. You know, I just got through trig because trig is algebra plus geometry, and the only reason I got through it was because of geometry. You know? So it's just something that I've always loved, and I didn't know that you could actually create art with it. I do, and the sources, I have a website. It's my teacher's website. Now, he is really different in his approach than I am, which is good. He works with expressing the mathematics. So when he finds a mathematical relationship, he goes crazy with it. For me, I'm always expressing symbolic meaning, always. So that's kind of he and I talk and stuff, and that's how we kind of relate. We know we're similar, we know we're different. Okay, so let's see, where are we in our, let's see, shape. Okay, so shape, we got it. Oh, one more. Okay, so now, this one I did for a person. This one I did to express myself. This one I did for a person. Whoops, I just screwed that up. So this is in a root 2 rectangle. More about that later, because we'll do ratios next before we have to stop. But this is a square root of 2 rectangle. And square root of 2, you can't really see the diagonal of the square. For the square root of 2, you take the diagonal of the square, put your compass where the diagonal meets the perimeter, and then you swing an arc. And the arcs are actually still there. So there is an arc that you can see where the birds are flying. That's the arc that would create the extra rectangle that would make a square root of 2 rectangle. And what two signs do you, what two numeric representations do you see in there? Well, yeah, you see 3 because of the triangle, but I'm so short. What is this? How many points? That outer shape. How many do you see? Yes! And then look in the topmost circle. So these are 3 circles inside. So the topmost circle has a bunch of crazy lines in it, and there are triangles in there. So how many triangles do you see inside? No, there's actually only 3. So 3 times 3 is 9. So this is the sacred number of Buddhism. So the reason I put that in there was actually at his request. This is for a friend of ours, Darian's and mine, Reverend Gary Ost. He's a retired Episcopal priest, a practicing Buddhist, and a third order Franciscan. So now if you look in here, you can see all of those symbols that would kind of communicate who he is. So, anyway. Any questions? Yes?
It looks like flame, oh, sorry. It looks like flames. So the flames are energy or?
The flames are part of the symbology of the Franciscan order. The oil lamp.
Oh, okay. Never
Yeah.
thought about that.
Like I said, whenever I do a drawing, I spend months doing research.
Very cool.
You know, so it comes from having been, let's see, I'm trying to see if, la-da-da.
While you're looking, and I still have the microphone, I think it's so serendipitous that you're doing this today because this is Native American Heritage Month.
Oh, okay.
And the cathedral's just beginning to sort of celebrate it. So anyway, just to kind of...
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, so in my sketchbook, again, I just made a copy to show me that this is all the research and development of this piece. And so I start with symbols, and one of the symbols of the Franciscan order is the flames from the oil lamp. It's also in Hindu and Buddhist tradition. There's the Agnihotra, which is the sacred flame that burns away impurities. So that's another one. Getting in the weeds really fast. Okay, so now, ratios. Everything good so far? Ratios. So ratios is when you get to have like lots of fun. So you have the root rectangle, so the square root. And the square root of rectangle, they all come from the mother square. Let's see if, oh, wait, I did the wrong one again. There it is. So you just take the diagonal of the square, spin it out, you get the root 2. You saw that, right? And then you take the diagonal of the square root of 2, and then you spin it out, you get the square root of 3. Well, you can also get the square root of 3 by the 2 points of the vesica, making a rectangle from that. Square root of 4, what is the square root of 4? 2. It's a double square. Woo! But someone had to just keep it a square root of 4, I don't know. And then the square root of 5. The square root of 5 is also really interesting. We're not going to get into it, we don't have time. But it's really long and narrow, and I have used it once. It is also, if you took the vesica again, let's see if I can take you back. There. Oh, the vesica has been clipped out at the top, but if you continue the arcs so that they would go all the way, see, from that point in the middle, there's those 2 little feathery things. Well, if you continue them all the way over and drew a line across that, top and bottom, you would have the square root of 5 rectangle. So the vesica gives you 2 square root rectangles, which to me is mind-blowing. And then it's also so much easier to do that than it is to get a square root of 5 by going through all of this, right? Take your shortcuts where you can. All right. So we have the square root of rectangle. Then the other types of rectangles, there's the root rectangle series. You didn't get one, huh? You stalled one. Okay. So the other kinds are the whole number ratios and musical ratios. They're the same. They come from the Pythagorean tradition. And the difference is that some of the musical ratios are, they're irrational, which means that it's like pi, right? You remember pi, and it has all the dots at the end and stuff. Yeah, so once you get into that, there is the Pythagoreans were not into the kind of exactitude that we now like to have, and so they would just simply round it up. Or murder you, right? So at any rate, yeah, that's what they would do. So anyway, so we have the note, which is the ratio 1 to 1, and that is the square. All right. Then you have 1 to 2, the octave, the root 4, 2 to 1. Okay. And then you have 1 to 1.25, which is considered 4 to 5, and that's the major third. Oh, by the way, Galileo Galilei's father was a really famous mathematician, and he tweaked all the ratios to actually make them produce the chords they're supposed to. Because, again, the Greeks weren't really so interested in exactitude. So there you go. So this is a drawing I did, and that's in the major third. And that's San Luis Rey. It's from my Alta California series, which I did for Oceanside Museum of Art for their teeny tiny art show, and then the new director canceled it after I had all of the pieces done. You do these little postcards, so they were tiny. You do these little postcards, and then people would buy them, and I thought, so, these are just on a piece of drawing paper with color pencils. And that's it. They're fast. And anyway, it kind of bummed me out because I had done all that work. But, so that's the major third. And then the next one is 5 to 8, which is probably my favorite ratio. And it is an interesting number. And this is San Luis Rey. If you've been there, you'd recognize that. And inside there's grids on every one, and every grid is different. And this grid is the fractional parts grid, where it's half, quarter, third, fifth, sixth. And then this one, the grid is called the 3 master squares. And if you looked carefully, you would actually see the bottom square, the top square, and the middle square. And then all of the construction lines makes those sweepy, those big sweeps. And I decided to keep them in and pull the tower way over so that the sweeping lines would come out. Again, that was for that show that didn't happen. Then the last family is the golden section, or phi. And I don't know that I have one. I've done a number of drawings in phi, but I just don't have it up there. And phi, or phi, however you want to pronounce it, is actually a relationship, for example, of the joints of your fingers. This is the bird finger, but it's actually straighter on my hand than my index finger. So But it's the ratio, it's the relationship of the joint, the individual joint to the total. So, and then in the human body, it would be, for example, where your hands would touch your leg. And these are averages, so everyone's different. We have a great amount of individual variability, but from your head to the tip of your finger would be approximately 0.618 of your body, which is phi. And then from the bottom to your navel would actually be 0.618. Or actually, from the top. So I forgot. From the bottom, no, from the bottom to your pelvis it would be 0.618. So that's, and it's found a lot when you spin it into a spiral, the golden section spiral, you'll see that in the distribution of the little eyes of a pineapple, how it wraps around. And it completely dovetails with the Fibonacci sequence of the Fibonacci spiral. So those two systems dovetail. You won't see a difference really in either of those spirals from each other. So you can think of it, you know, when you're looking at a pineapple, you can think, oh, Fibonacci sequence, or you can go, oh, phi. You know, it doesn't matter. They may not have the exact same number, but once you get into a spiral with that kind of movement, it does pretty much the same thing. Okay. So that is the intersection where these musical ratios, phi and the Fibonacci sequence all comes together. And that's simply because whenever you have a summation sequence, it will eventually go into phi. It will cross phi. It will cross the golden section. So that's where that comes from. All right, I think that's it. Got to get you guys out. Any questions? Yes.
Well, that's fascinating. Thank you very much. I'm just curious. There's a mathematics of music. I'm wondering if you're also fascinated by music, the circle of keys that I've heard you say.
Yeah. Right. Well, there's the musical ratios for real. I have to put my mic down. So then I just have to use my stage voice. In this book, one of my teacher's graduate students wrote the sacred geometry song because she was in music, and she did use those ratios to construct a musical piece. What it sounds like, I don't know, because he didn't have a recording of it. So, and I haven't actually played it. So, yeah, you can. Sometimes trying to use ratios that have a special meaning like phi to create something outside of mathematics will give you kind of results that aren't really useful. There was a company that made jeans according to phi. So they would place the pockets like at where it would be for if you were running a phi analysis, phi meaning 1 to 1.618 or 1 to 0.618 or 0.06. And so the pockets were like down here. And then like, even, it didn't matter how tall you were, the pockets were still going to be right here. And I thought, that's kind of a lame place to put a pocket, It just doesn't really work. So you got to watch out what you decide you're going to use these for. Any other questions? Yes, Michael.
Are all your diagrams printed in a book?
No, my work is not in a book. When we first moved down here, I grew up in Oceanside and then migrated and then met Darian, and then many years later we had to come back, And I thought my first thing was going to be, number one, finish the painting that I had promised someone I would do. And the second was build a website. And so 2 or 3 years later, I finished the painting and I never built the website. So there you go. One day, maybe. Check out my teachers. It's markareynolds.com. But it'll just make your eyes cross. It really will. He's just a crazy man. Any other questions? Yes.
I don't even know I say this, I guess with Carolyn, I'm just wondering if there's a book for children or something to get them interested in this.
Interesting. Oh yeah, book for kids. Yeah, that's interesting. I would, maybe I'll start looking to see if I could find it. This is kind of, oops. This one's kind of geared for learning, but the concepts are not actually shown in an easy way. It just assumes adult knowledge. So that would be interesting. I'll talk to our local book guy about that. Yes.
I'm from England, and the cathedral where I am is Durham Cathedral. And when I heard that it was going to be a talk on sacred geometry, I thought that you were going to be looking at the construction of cathedrals and so on, and the ratios of pillars and all of that kind of stuff, because geometry informs so much of architecture, doesn't it?
Exactly.
So it's been really interesting to be taken down this route, because it's one I wasn't aware of, and it's another dimension of how geometry is used.
Yeah. That's an interesting point, because this is just the tip of an iceberg, and because I was asked to do this, and I felt like I needed to make it relate to my work, but it's widely used. You just say the name Palladio. It's widely used in architecture, and in the sacred for temples, for mosques. It's real. In fact, there's a book that I got the quote, that I got the ratios for Islam, and I forgot to write it down. It's Elias Shafak, and it's the Architect's Apprentice, and it goes through all that for Islam.
Architects are very superstitious in terms of numbers. So like Froman, who designed this building and had relationship with the National Cathedral, like his numbers are 7, 9, 25. And all day long yesterday I've been trying to remember, what's the dude's name who designed the temple? And he did the library, which is now the Oceanside Museum.
Oh,
Of
art?
Having a senior moment, I can't remember the name. Anyway,
Library downtown?
no, Oceanside Library.
Oh, was it Urban Gill?
Urban Gill. Urban Gill's numbers are 6, 12, and 13.
That's pretty, that's wild, because 6 and 12, and then he's throwing 13.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be talking about 13 a lot. I'll be talking about 13 next month.
These are local architects.
Uh-huh.
And then, I don't have a senior office. 2 other locals.
It's early for
Their
it.
numbers are like really 7 and 9 is like San Diego numbers. Are just like, whoa, Lord. And but Froman, if you go into the cathedral and you bypass the sermon sometimes, and you sit there.
Bypass the sermon.
Thanks, Rick. I see you.
This word is 7, 21, and it's done in sections and counted.
Well, 7 times 3 is 21. So 3 sections of 7 is 21.
And watch his columns. And then watch his lights. And then his windows are all modulated on sets of 9s. They're 9 times smaller than the windows are in the National Cathedral. And the Chapel of the Holy Family, which is here, is 9 times smaller than the Chapel of Bethlehem in the National Cathedral. But it's exactly the same dimensions, and the windows are 9 times smaller, and each individual stained glass is 9 times smaller than its plate.
Well, 9, yeah. Oh, here we go.
Yeah, there was a fascinating talk I heard on Gil by the rector of St. James by the Sea recently. He pointed out that, and he's got a whole book on the sacred places in San Diego, and really his work and geometry of his work was sort of replicating nature, and outdoors in spaces, and the field of architecture, according to my sister, is now moving in that direction. But also, if I can just,
And that's what you're talking about.
if you look at like science and crystals and quartiles, there's this geometric patterns.
Oh yeah,
So
the tessellations are. You can go down the rabbit hole like boom, like that with tessellations.
That house that's over here, I think it's a B&B, but it has the hot stained glass windows. That's another one that's geometrically modulated situation based on curves.
Rick was talking about natural forms. It gets too fuzzy when you get too close.
Oh, okay.
We can understand you better without the mic.
Really? Oh, because I have the voice. Yeah.
We still want you on it for the recording. Thank you.
Anyway, I have a challenge for all of you. Who can really describe for me the flower of what we call the fortnight lily, that invasive, that beautiful invasive exotic? If you really look at it, it has 9 petals of 3 different designs. So there's 3 with one design, 3 with another design, and 3 with another design.
Not to mention snowflakes.
Yeah, that is not unusual. I've noticed in my Japanese art is to find flowers that would have when the multiples are there, the multiples might be different colored.
You
So
also might want to check our rose window. 13.
13.
And you need to check to see each one of the disciples is at the end of the petal.
oh really? Even the okay. Are you giving the sermon today?
No.
Yes. Then I can Yeah, that's going to be next month. I'm going to be doing a presentation of Women Together on the sacred feminine, and there are, again going back to Pythagoras, there are what's considered masculine shapes and numbers and feminine shapes and numbers. 13 is a feminine number, as is 7, and a couple more. Okay. So, I think we have to end, right? Yes. All right. Thank you so much. If you want to take some time and here's my source list. I made 20 copies, so go ahead and take it, and and thank you so much.
Thank you, Bev. Thank you so much for coming. Next week, in the forum, it will be Reverend Richard Leaf, Sacred Dance. We have the mystical call of sacred dance next Sunday, 9 a.m. here. Have a good Sunday, everyone.